Hey YouTube, today we're going to be working on this 1998 Honda Civic. We had just repaired the timing belt on this one, but I guess something fell in that caused the timing belt to get split in half. The first step in taking the timing belt off is removing the valve cover. We're going to do that by removing the spark plug wires, put them off to the side. We're going to get a 10mm socket and disassemble the 5 bolts that go on top, plus these 2 right here. That way you can take this wire off and this won't be in the way of your other bolt. Now we can take the main valve cover bolts off. So go ahead and pull them out. After you've taken those bolts off, get some pliers and pull off this vacuum hose. Squeeze this clamp, push it back. And you can slide off the tube. That's it, your valve cover is ready to come off. Make sure you're very careful not to rip the gasket, because if not you're going to have to do a lot of cleaning. So your gasket will look like this when you take it off. The next step would be to remove the upper timing belt cover. There's only 2 bolts holding this in. There's one behind the dipstick, there's one across this other side right here. I've already loosened them here, but it's actually kind of difficult to get access to it. So start by removing the dipstick, placing it off to the side, and taking off the upper cover bolts. This other side's a little tighter because there's no room for the ratchet, but this 1/4" one makes it pretty easy. The upper timing belt cover should come right off. It should actually just slide upwards. Do is pull away a little bit from where the screws came out of. So that like that, and this side like that, and then pull up. With the upper timing belt cover removed, you have a clear view of the timing belt. For all the following steps, what we're going to need to do is lift the car up and take the front left wheel off. Don't forget to read your owner's manual on where the correct points to lift your car are. This next step, we're going to loosen the power steering belt. To loosen the power steering belt, you're going to need a 12mm socket. The bolt you're looking for is this one right here. That one right there. You're going to loosen that one. And once it loosens, you're going to push the power steering belt down. If it doesn't move once it's loose, you might have to loosen this one a little bit, but hardly anything. Let's move on to the alternator belt. All you're going to do on the power steering one is this little bolt right there. It's kind of hard to see. It should be a 12mm. You're going to need a wrench for this one. And right here you just loosen. Okay. Kind of give it a push. Might be easier if you use a crowbar. Get some leverage. All you got to do is give it a tug. That's it. Now you can pop off the belt. What you're gonna need for this is a 10mm on a really long extension. The reason for this is because you got to put that on that bolt right there. That's the bolt to loosen the belt, but you need to release the locking bolt, which is on the side over here. I'll put the wrench on there. Right there. That's the locking bolt. Loosen the locking bolt, then you'll start turning the ratchet. Alright, I'm gonna try and get it from the bottom. It's probably easier. It's definitely way easier to get it from the bottom. Once you've loosened it, you can go ahead and start loosening it up top too. As you can see, the belt's starting to come loose. You could actually spin it with your finger. Now all the belts are off. Once you have all of the belts off, you're gonna want to rent this tool. It's the crankshaft pulley holder. Now basically all you do is lodge it in here, and then you use another 1/2" ratchet and you use it to keep it in place. The bolt's out, take out the pulley. Next step is to take the lower timing belt cover off. To start removing the lower timing belt cover, you can actually pull out the dipstick. Unfortunately, the camera didn't fit where I could get a good view of where these bolts were on the car itself. I've gone ahead and taken it off and shown where these bolts are going to be. So there's going to be 3 on the left side and 3 on the right side. This pulley gets in the way, so this pulley sits right up here and it doesn't let you get the bolt at the bottom. You might be able to get the top one, but not the bottom one. It should be easy enough. They're in line. It's a little tight. I actually had to pull the power steering pump off and move it to the side in order to get this entire assembly off, because they wouldn't let me get to these bolts, and it was a mess. Up next is removing the tensioner bolt. That way we can release this timing belt. Get out a 14 wrench and loosen the bolt. Once you loosen it, it should slide right out. You got the timing belt off. Now we just go and get a new timing belt. So the next step would be just to remove the engine mount. You might want to suspend the engine just to make sure that you don't damage any of the engine mounts. Loosen these 2 to begin with, and then the third one over here, you can slide this whole bracket upwards.